3 or 4 words that define who you are. Then to choose 3 or 4 words that define who you are. 3 or 4 words. Take a bit of time to think. There's no rush. Okay. Whilst you're doing that, let's imagine a world where nothing matters. Could you imagine living in a world where you get up in the morning and nothing matters at all? Why would you want to get up in the morning and do anything if nothing mattered? So we place emphasis on the things that matter to us. Okay, we make evaluations. The world around us is full of information, and we constantly have to evaluate the objects and people around us. We're constantly making these evaluations about people, about places, about things. From the point of view of values, so we make evaluations of the treatment of others. How others should be treated, what's fair, what's not fair. When you encounter a specific person who has wronged another, you may have a negative attitude towards him or her. Let me give you a brief example. Okay, let's make a scenario. Let's say you've got a pot of funding available in a certain town, and this pot of funding is available for the allocation of medical procedure. Okay, so it's given to, let's say it's given to the NHS. They've got £100,000, and the money's allocated for medical procedure. And let's say you've got 3 people who require the procedure, and you've got an elderly gentleman who's just retired. You have a single parent who's got 2 children, and you've got a young man who's got his whole life ahead of him. But only one person can have the money for the procedure. Who does one choose? Pretty deep, isn't it? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Asking us.
Yeah. No, it's a great point, and I don't want to sort of be contentious here, and you'll have your own opinion, and one person might choose one or the other. It's a pretty tough thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
But would you have someone that you would choose over the other? Okay. And would that change if the person you chose, let's say you chose the elderly gentleman, and the lad, the young boy, was your son? How would you feel then? Or let's say you chose the woman, and the man was your dad. Or let's say you chose well, I said woman, it could have been a man who's a single parent too. Let's say you chose a single parent, and the young man was your brother. Yeah. Would it change the dynamic of the choice? One would think so. Yeah. For sure, one would think so. One time I did the course, and this woman, she was adamant that the money should go to the single parent for the protocol, and me, I didn't do it to be contentious. I did it to highlight how we value and how we've attitudes about certain people, and she was adamant, and she's really full blown. It should go to the single parent. It should go. I said, okay. I'm not making.
That'll run your dad.
It's just a hypothesis, and if the young lad was your son, how would you feel then? Backtracking. Well, actually, as a matter of fact, it's a bit different now, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit different. And would you change your decision? Yeah. She stopped and thought, said, goodness me, I'm not your son. Flip an egg, as you do. Where does your loyalty lie? No, and I'm being a bit silly now, but it shows you it's not always cut and dry. We make opinions about people, we have attitudes about people. We don't even know them. Yeah. We see someone on TV and he's a horrible so-and-so. Yeah. You don't know the guy. You don't know. So we do form these attitudes. We do, and we'll talk about that later on, and how they're influential in how we live our life and how we make judgments about people. But we do that to save time, cognitively. So values are abstract and generalized, and attitudes are more concrete and specific. Yeah.
But it's but I'd choose the young person.
Yeah, well there we go. Yeah, that's fine. Your
They
choice.
might be trying to rub it out.
Yeah. It's your choice. Okay, so values are abstract and generalised, and so values are abstract, generalised, and you'll see politicians, by the way, use values a lot.
Yeah.
And we talked about hypnotic language, and the politician will say they'll use like yes sets on values. So you'll see the politicians. Don't take my word for it. Just watch a politician speak next time. Do me a favour, watch a politician speak next time, and what they'll do, because values carry emotions, they'll be very abstract. And who in the audience wants better education? Say yes, yeah! And who wants more healthcare? So they'll use things that are important to people. Healthcare, education, and the whole audience is just 500,000 people in a square all, yes, we want it. And here's me with my loudspeaker. Can I have the small print for you, please? Shut up, you! and people get carried away, don't they? Yeah. It's like when you go to these guru seminars. And who in the audience has got children and want a great future for their children? Well, who wouldn't, really? Yeah. So it's a way of getting compliance. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm not saying that the politician isn't congruent. Yeah. They may be. But we know that if you motivate people with small prints, are they really going to be motivated? It's like we had those big events that have happened the last few years, the elections in America, the Brexit, all these things really, and the way people have sort of pitched things are abstract. At least my understanding of it. I'm not suggesting or implying who should vote what or whatever. I'm just saying that the small print doesn't make for good reading. So we see how the salespeople will use values and drivers. And where most people in sales go wrong, and you could be the best therapist in the world, and this has been my argument about therapists, sometimes they're great at what they do, but if you're anything like me, when I first started, and still do now, I love what I do so much, I always feel guilty to charge, and you'll know what it's like, you know what it's like where it's almost like sometimes the therapist will sell what they do based on their own values. And you see many people in business, they'll sell a product, will buy this, but on their values, and they won't get very far. And I'm not saying to be incongruent, I'm just saying that if it's win-win, if it's not win-win, then don't bother. But what I'm saying is that some people let themselves down. So some great therapists out there, some great coaches out there, that basically, they're great at what they do, they're great practitioners, phenomenal. They sometimes let themselves down by, you're a great practitioner, some people just sell themselves better. And I think it's a travesty in some situations, but life is what it is. And I'm not implying that people, from a sales point of view, we can talk about sales and values. Generally, salespeople will sell based on the person's values. They'll meet you there, but it's another story for another day. So an attitude helps people make decisions fast. An attitude saves you time. What do I mean by that? So from an attitude point of view, you may have a favourable evaluation on things like justice and fairness. So we don't refer to these sort of evaluations as attitudes, we call them values. We talked about that before. But the attitudes, they're not the only psychological tool we have for evaluation. Attitudes are very specific. Attitudes are a group of people. How I feel about a car, a food. What's more broader is the value. For me, and the value presents what's more a sense of what's important to that person. Where the attitude might be, you get up in the morning, what should I wear? What should I eat? You're constantly making decisions about what you should do throughout the day. Should I call that person? So you're sitting down this afternoon and you're watching Manchester United versus Manchester City, and there's a penalty decision. And depending on who you support, you'll form the attitude, referee! And the referees are going to be good or bad based on, and the attitude towards the referee is based on decisions he made and how those decisions fit into your map of reality, depending on who you support. That was a penalty. No, it wasn't a penalty. Yes, it was a penalty. Oh, that damn referee. You should go to Specsavers, a referee. And maybe you should. And you'll probably see me this afternoon doing the same thing. But the attitude that we have and we form is a shortcut. So values gives us a real sense of purpose. Actual values give us a real sense of purpose. They're like a propulsion system. They give us this drive. where the attitude is more a symbolic purpose, by helping us express our values. So the attitude, the difference is they give us meaning to make fast decisions without relying on all information. So you make a quick decision what to wear, what to eat, and so on and so forth. It guides us to approach what we like and avoid what we dislike. But it doesn't always work that way, and that's another story for another day, because we don't always avoid what we like and dislike. You know, take the case of, say, someone who eats the wrong foods, or someone develops an addictive behaviour in gambling, and all these things really, and you'll notice that things like gambling, they use heuristics to make people think they've got a chance to win, when the probability is, say in gambling for example, you've got very little chance to win. But what they'll do, for example, in gambling, is you'll be playing in a casino, and you might get, say, the sort of machines, and you'll get, say, a series of numbers, and you're only one off. And you think, I've nearly won, but you put no chance of winning anyway. But you think, oh, I've nearly won that time. Or you play the roulette or whatever. So they make you nearly win, and because you think you nearly win, you think, well, it's just like in sport. Whether you hit the post when you have a shot at goal, whether you the corner flag, you haven't scored. But the basis is that they use these techniques, when the probability is, if you map it out, there's very little chance of winning from that point of view. The point of view of, okay, people are probably more afraid of sharks than they are of the flu. But you know that there's maybe a handful of people that get eaten by a shark, and thousands of people might die through related causes of the flu every year. But one gets more highlighted. So that's another story for another day. But certainly, you know, from the attitude's point of view, that we can make a quicker decision what to wear, what to go for lunch, what road you're going to take home this afternoon, what you have for dinner, when you get home tonight, you chat to your neighbour, will you play sport with your friends, will you go to the theatre. So they're all determined by attitude. We draw information from the past experience as well, and we use this information to make judgments of future experiences too. So one of the reasons why people have attitudes, it helps decide what to do quickly, because you haven't got 3 hours to decide what you wear in the morning. You haven't got sort of 3 hours to think about whether you should avoid somebody. You haven't got 3 hours to think, or a whole day to think, well, you know, you see someone walking down the street, should I walk the other way? Or should I approach them? So they help us to approach a positive outcome or avoid a negative outcome, the attitude. And I mentioned earlier, you'd like to think that would work that way, but it doesn't always work that way. Because at lunchtime, your attitude towards certain types of food that you think you should eat, that's good for you, then you might actually go and eat food that's bad for you or not good for you, not supporting where you want to go. So I touched on very briefly heuristics, and they're just simple rules that we use to form an attitude of judgment with little cognitive effort, with small cognitive effort, the heuristic. So going back to the program, and we sort of know and got an idea of differential between the value and attitude, we'll look at how we can use values to align our goals, like a compass, because a value is an abstract concept. Okay, values are what's important to us. The value motivates us. Okay, they're criteria for determining whether our actions are right or wrong. Have you ever done something and thought afterwards, I regret doing it? Or have you ever done something and thought good about it? Or maybe you've spoken to someone in a certain way afterwards and thought, that wasn't great. Or maybe you go to the store and you go to the shop, for example, and they give you an extra £1, and you think, wow, great, but then you get home and think, I should have given that money back actually. And then you're deliberating in the evening thinking, should I go back tomorrow? I'll go back tomorrow. You gave me an extra £1. Because I can't live with the fact that you give me an extra £1, and you're thinking, oh no, that poor checkout person, now it could come out of their pocket. I can't do this type thing. And we've all been there, you know, certainly for sure. And over a while ago, I was on vacation and we'd eaten and had a meal and everything else that went with it. And we're about to leave. She said, "Thank you." And it's like, she thought we'd pay. I thought, I'm with my friend and we've ordered half the restaurant here. It's just like, whether she thinks we're some sort of celebrities and we can go is beyond me. But I said to her, you haven't taken money. Oh my goodness, I haven't. And she actually marked that we did. I said, no, I couldn't live with myself thinking that, you know, we had a free lunch, and eventually, like, when it comes to the, you know, and the sort of things that our values determine these things, don't they? So how they determine how we spend our time. So I get home from work, do I go to the gym or do I go see my family? Do I do some work? And they sort of determine what we do with our time and how we feel about what we do with our time too. And they're different contexts. So, you know, this is a really good example. One time I was doing some training for some staff, some gym training. This is a really, really good example. We're talking about values for motivation for clients, okay? And we got on the subject of values. And this was a gym. I'm delivering training for staff at a gym. And this is really, really useful information. And I delivered the training. I talked about how you can utilize the people's values to help guide them as a roadmap for motivation. And you can find out that towards positive motivated, away from negative motivation, away from an experience. And this gym instructor really is a nice young lad and new to the field and really, really motivated, you know, to do what he did. And he sort of put a bit of the work into practice, but then he sort of became a law unto his own and you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and I'm going to change the world type generation, the Google generation of all the answers, you know, from Google. And he approached this woman who was a single parent and had a job and maybe even 2 jobs. And he sort of wrote her a program, and he said to her, "Why haven't you stuck to the program? Why haven't you stuck to the diet plan?" And she goes, "Well, I haven't really had time this week. I've been running the children around and I've been doing this." And he goes, "Well, you should make time. It's important to you." And I thought, dude, you know, as you do. But then that goes to, you know, the point being, he means well, but he's seeing it from his reality.
Yeah.
You know, he's seeing it. He's not suggesting, implying he wasn't compassionate. He didn't understand. He would never understand. We don't understand unless we go into someone's position. So what do you think happened there? Well, it's deal or no deal, isn't it? It's like, well, it's like a big ouch.
See you later.
So these values, if you sort of violate the value of a human being, you're going to get a reaction. And we'll talk about ways you can elicit your own values to align them to where you want to go, to live a more fulfilling life. To feel more fulfilled, because if you're in alignment with your values, you're going to feel better about yourself. And if the values aren't working for you, then it might be an idea to sort of look at ways to change what's important to you, because they can change. Our values do change. We do change as human beings. You see it often in life. People meet each other, and they're madly in love, and they're going to spend the rest of their life together, and they're happy. And then life changes. You know, one decides they want to go to university and focus on the career. One wants children. And one day they wake up in the morning. Who is this person next to me, for goodness sake? But the same person, the values have changed.
They change when you've had a child.
Yeah, a significant emotional event change, for sure. Of course it does. Yeah, very much so. And they do change, and they're subjective, and they're very context dependent. You've got them for different areas of your life, for your health, for your fitness, for life in general, for relationship you've got. And you do see it a lot now in literature when people talk about, I'm not advocating dating sites, by the way, but you see there's a famous dating site that did a lot of advertising campaign, and they would say meet people not just on certain areas but on the values. And I believe, if I'm correct, I stand corrected, that some motivational guru had actually helped them to understand the concept of values and how aligning people with similar values would that wasn't the only thing they did, but that was one way to help people, because we're comfortable around people who are similar to us. We feel comfortable around people who are similar to us, and think about all your friends. Your closest friends are going to have similar views about the world than you do. The brain likes familiarity. You might be different in certain ways, for sure, but you look at it in certain societies. You have societies that that bond together. Ethnic group, you know, Little in New York. You go to Spain and the German people who retire there, the English people retire there, communities around this country. So generally speaking, we like to be around people who are similar to us. That's familiarity to a point. So, and there is a relationship between the belief and the value. Okay, which we'll touch on a little bit more as we go along on our journey, because you decide loyalty is important to you, and someone else decides that freedom is important to them, and you believe life should be lived this way. Then you've got your rules, someone's got their rules, and we've all got rules for life. You've got your rules, I've got my rules, and people are very good at telling people how they should live their life. Well, focus on how you should live your own life, but we're very good at making the judgment. And this is the keys to, it's like, you know, you get an email, I get an email every week about the keys to success. Like there's a set of keys, you're going to get these keys and it's going to open the door for you. The only keys I've got is for my car, because there is no key in the sense that life is subjective. Okay, so you get an article that comes through, why relationships fail. Why relationships fail? It's because of one thing. Well, things run their course. And failure is a pretty strong word. Because we've got these expectations that we put on people and ourselves and others as well. And your expectations are yours, mine are mine. So I respect your values. I respect the way you see the world. And equally, I would like that respect back. And I think that's really important to understand that from that point of view. We've got to respect each other's decisions and the way we see the world. There's no point having to go for someone because they voted one way. Understand them. You can have a go at them if you want to, but let's understand them and open up a dialogue, and vice versa. Let's understand each other to make better decisions. And if the world was that way, because most of the world's issues are on values and beliefs. You believe one thing, I believe something else. No, you're wrong, I'm wrong. Well, who is wrong or right? It's all subjective. But we know that certain things are important and we all want the best for people. But I think that understanding each other's values and beliefs and aligning our organisation on that, aligning our country on that, and we see it a lot. We see the politicians say we're gonna fight in the name of freedom. It's a value. Okay, we're gonna fight, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, by the way, but I'm saying it does go on. Okay, and we have a hierarchy. It's hierarchical. Generally speaking, we have a hierarchy of values. Some are more important than others. That we know. Some values are more important than others. And the exercise we're going to do shortly is quite useful because we can learn to prioritise what's important to us. And get the slide up now. And the famous quote by Jim Rohn: "If you don't design your own life plan, the chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan, and they don't generally have a great deal planned for you." So, in the famous words of the Jim Rohn, there is some truth in that. It's about taking control of our own life and deciding what's right for us and running your own race. Okay, I'm here and I want to get there. Okay, so we don't compare our life. There's no point comparing our life. A lot of people like to compare our life. What's he got next door? What she got next door? What they're doing on social media? We make these comparisons when equally it's our life. We have the right to live our life in the way we think we should live it, and providing we're not going out there and harming anybody else in that sense. So we talk about values being an opportunity to align our compass, to make our own plans. Okay, we're not in this life to please other people, because you try and please everyone, you end up pleasing nobody. And comparing your life to somebody else is just, and someone telling you how you should live your life. You know, the person sort of telling you, you should do that. And we've got plenty of people out there in the world that tell us our life is worse than what it is. The advertising campaigns. Your life will be so much better if you buy this car. You'll feel 10 years younger, I assure you that. The truth be told, they do that, don't they? It's like you see it everywhere, or the guru says, your life is crap. Come to my island in wherever the island is, and your life's going to be. You're going to go to a new level in your life now. Well, I mean, there's that many seminars, and your life's a new level. Is life about levels? Do we have another level to go to? You could take your life to a new level, and you're kind of insinuating that your life is what it is. You've got hidden treasures now. Plenty of people, and I'm all for goals, and we're going to talk about aligning our goals. Plenty of people in the world, they don't see what they've got. You've got hidden treasures. Many people strive, and the goal shouldn't be about striving. There's no point in me trying to compete against you, because I see you've got this car, and I think I'll get a different car. Then I see you go to holiday over there, and I see you on Facebook smiling in Mexico somewhere, and think, oh, I'm going to better that. I'm going to go to a different resort. Then I see you somewhere else. I'm going to better. And this competition, it just creates more insecurities in the human being. And I'm going to put this picture, and why have only one person give me a like for? Why has only one person damn like my flipping picture? It should have been more. The validation should come within. We all like to be liked as human beings. I like validation. If you tell me I do a good job, it's nice. I feel better. But equally, I'm not going to rely on that. Because I know my intention. I know I'm doing the best I can what I got. And I'm well aware that for anybody to get validation within. So I will align my own values, and I'll do the very best I can to live my life in accordance to that. Okay? And by doing that, I think it gives you a sense of fulfillment. When I worked in professional football years ago, and I left, I had a good job pay. The pay was good. And I sort of worked my way up to a very high level. And I spent many nights getting up in the night thinking, is that all it is? Is this me? I love the game. I love sport. I've been a professional sportsman myself. I love sport. I love competing. I made many great friends in that environment. And I still work with sports people now. I still work with footballers now. My own stable that come to see me for various sessions. I love the game. But equally, I thought there's more to me. I spent a lifetime studying. Education is really important to me because I wasn't academic at school, but I've gone on to do loads of education since. Probably studied 3 or 4 hours a day, done many courses across a broad range of modalities. And I thought, is this going to be it for me? I've got more to offer. I want to reach the world. And I left, and I ended up working I left to work in care homes with young people. Why did I choose to work with young people? Because as a young person, I felt I got a raw deal. I got a raw deal because as a 14, 15-year-old, when my mum was ill and my dad got injured at work, we had no money. No money. And I had to go to work to help bring some money in for the food. And it was tough. And I used to try to go to school, and the teachers at school used to be like this to me, you're not doing your schoolwork. Schoolwork? My bloody homework is flipping, my home is falling apart. You're going to get evicted, I'm going to be on the streets soon, you worry about school. I'm going to write letters to your parents because you're not doing your school. They'll see that, they're going to freak out, as they do. And not one teacher said to me one time, put an arm around, this is the violin coming out now, are you okay? Why aren't you bringing food for 3 or 4 days? Why have you got shoes that are like 3 or 4 years old? Why are you bringing in shirts that are... No, they didn't do that. And I realised at that point I had sport. As an athlete, I found a way to channel my energy and find something. Otherwise, I was knackered. I wouldn't have got anywhere. I had something to sort of channel myself, and I found a coach who believed in me and said, Jim, because I got into the wrong crowds, and he said, Jim, you can do it. Focus. And that wasn't the only thing, but then I started to focus a bit more. And that was my driving force to want to help the young people. Because I felt, I'd been there. I'd worn the t-shirt. I know what they're going through. No, there wasn't a crusade. I just thought, and I felt fulfilled. I was on not a great deal of money, doing education, not least compared to what I was on before, but I felt the best I'd felt in years. I thought I'm doing something that means something. Okay? Until eventually I decided to start the business again and work with people and do the books and do the iTunes and do the seminars and travel the world in seminars. So I felt a lot of people. But the primary driver and the information I used to get all the time when I started doing the coaching, the therapy full-time was like how to get more clients and you can get 6-figure income. And I thought, I want to learn how to get better at what I do. Because I've come from a high pay. I've not come into this to do, and that'll look after itself if we've got a business plan. But I used to get a flood of information. You can be there, you know. I thought, I've got the platform. I'm doing radio. I've got loads of things, but I want to get better. So I kept educating myself in the universities, in the courses, and all this stuff, and I still do now. I still do learning now. So I'm saying your values determine, you know, how to live your life. Okay, and think about what's important to you. For a moment, think about what's important to you in your life. You know, what really is important to you. What really, and I don't want to throw things at you because I want you to make your own mind up. Think about what really is important to you. And when you do activity schedule and see you're spending your week, see the percentage of time you're spending around the things that are important to you. And that'll give you an indication of where you are and how you feel. Okay? I'm not sort of one of them sort of motivational gurus who's going to say, imagine you had a week to go. No, because that's idealistic. It's ridiculous. But it has some credibility, and it's useful to a point. But the point being is that, okay, if you live that way, you'd probably leave your job and go and do something, whatever, and that's probably not a good idea. You know, you go to some of these seminars and say, if you had a week to live, what would you do different? Well, you might leave your job, you might end up sort of, you know, going home and, you know, hugging your kids a bit tight. You might just go for a holiday for a week somewhere, but then you come back and you find out you've got another week, life ahead of you, and you try and explain to the bills, the guru said, live your life like a week to go.
Well, sometimes they're interlinked, aren't they? Sometimes, like, you have to go to work in order to fulfil the value of looking after your family.
Precisely. And that's why I think it's important to get and to sort of think from the point of view. It's a great point. The point being is that we can do the best we can with what we've got. It's idealistic to think, okay, but for me, I'd spend too many nights making the liberation. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. But I couldn't just jump the train or jump the treadmill, because ultimately I have responsibilities and I didn't want my children to go through what I went through as a young person financially. We have nothing. So the driver was to find a way. But equally in saying that, you know, in my journey, well, you know, you do what you can to the best of your ability. Whatever it is, whether you drive a taxi, whether you work in a shopping store, whatever, you know, work in a factory. I worked in a factory very young and I learnt a lot of lessons. I learnt a huge lessons, and people say young people have got pressure now, and they do. I hear it a lot, and they have got pressure, but we had pressure too. You come home from one day at 15 years of age, and you're even younger than your dad's injured, and you've got no money, your mum's not working, and you go working in a factory. That's damn pressure as well. It might be the pressure young people have got now. Do I choose an iPhone or do I choose a Samsung? Oh, Facebook! Oh my goodness, they called me this on Facebook. That's not nice, don't get me wrong, it's pressure. But people have pressure. Before me, people fought in wars at 17. That's damn pressure, you know. And I said that one time at a course I was doing, and the young person says to me, had the audacity to say, I'd probably choose to fight in a war. I said, you've not fought in a war. I've not either, but I've worked with people who are in the forces. I assure you now, it's not Call of Duty on your PlayStation. I promise you that. It's horrendous. Horrendous. I've sort of worked with people who've had colleagues, you know, blown up. Don't go down there. What you're going through is pressure. I understand and appreciate that. But equally, have respect for people who've given you the freedom you've got now. Stuck in your bubble. Okay? And that's the important thing for me, to know what's important to us. Because the attitude will save you time to make a decision. Okay? But equally, the value is going to help you get some sort of alignment. And every now and again, we should make the time. And every year, I'll have a coach. I believe it or not, I hire my own coach every year, and I spend a little bit of money. The reason being is that you sometimes need to bounce. I need someone to bounce. I know what the information is, but sometimes you just need someone to give you the accountability, to just bounce a few ideas, to elicit the value, a sounding board, because you can't do everything on your own. And I'm not ashamed to say that throughout my life, I have sought coaches. As a 17-year-old, when I wanted to do professional sport, the little money I had, I spent on coach. I spent on the coach, and it really helped me a lot, because he would introduce me to NLP, hypnotherapy, all these things, and that really would help me a lot too. And I saved up money to go to my first Tony Robbins seminar. I think it was about 17, 18, and he come to Sydney, and the little money I had, I spent, and I valued it. I went there and I really valued it. I seized the moment because I spent literally a month working in the factory to spend for that money to go see. And I tell you now, I hung on to every word he said. I was there. It wasn't given to me on the platter. When I paid for my driving lessons through work, when I bought my car and it got stolen the first 2 days after I bought it, back in Sydney there, I earned it and I felt the value. So you learn from the work you learn, and for me, sometimes it's worth having the sounding board. You can't do everything on your own. Okay? Therapists, coaches don't need to project this perfection. None of us are perfect. True perfection is imperfection. Okay? There's no need to have to project this sort of, the shiny white teeth and the chiseled chin and this Armani suit, and that's BS. Because a human being is a human being. We're going to go through stuff. Well, everyone's going to go through stuff. There's no perfection. Nothing to hide. I don't have to be one way with one people, one way the other. Yeah, professional etiquette and conduct comes into it, but I don't need to hide nothing because I can be like this now and be whatever you are. So the values decide what you do. The attitude may also express a social identity. The attitude being different, your social identity, how you see yourself in the world that you live in, and everything else that goes with it. The information on this stuff and the heuristics I can email you as well if you want that. That's something I put in the mixer too, because I thought was quite useful with this identity. The identity being in the Western world, much of identity is based on the social status. And the social status is based on what we do professionally. And if you go and meet someone, one of the first questions you ask, what do you do professionally? Does it matter? If I meet someone in the bar, why do I need to know what they do professionally? Why is that important? And why do people have to do the boasting about the professional identity? And we know in the Western world that the professional identity is a big thing about our status. I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a psychologist. And the lawyer goes home and cross-examines the whole family. And the doctor goes home and starts diagnosing the family. And there's an irony there where if you take that away from the person, how do they feel? The footballer one day won't be the footballer. He's just going to be someone walking in the street. And now the footballer gets the adulation. Everyone, the footballer, hey, there he is. Oh, there he is. Let me go, quick, selfie, quick. The footballer. And he's got this, this big ego comes out. Everywhere you go, he's like the gladiator. Everybody watches him. The photo, yeah. And then he retires. Well, who the hell are you? And he feels a loss. And we know that the identity is a big thing of our social construct. And one time when we had the reunion, I mentioned this before, we went to one of the reunions I went to was Loughborough. And some of the people who went to Loughborough went on to sort of things in sports. And we had the reunion and we're talking, and one guy was talking about his job he had in one team, one in the other team. One woman said, I haven't done a great deal. And what do you mean not done a great deal? I've just had two children and been bringing them up, and I'm sort of late. And I thought, wow, it's a big call, the social construct, because the woman bringing up the two children is the biggest job of all. The football is, I love the game, but it's just kicking the bag of wind, isn't it? The bag of air, sorry. In the end, to bring up two children, you've got to be a nutritionist, you've got to be a psychiatrist, you've got to be the role model, you've got to be the taxi driver. A lot of things you've got to be, and identity makes a big part. So we don't have to be all things to one people. Be careful of how you see yourself, how you label yourself. Okay. The values express attitudes to affirm express our social identity and affirm our general belief. Okay? If you really want something, you'll find it.
Is this turned up as high as it can be on the volume?
I believe so, yeah.
Somebody's struggling to hear you.
Well, there we go, yeah. Yeah. There's not a great deal we can do. It might be the system, so yeah. So if you really want something, you'll find a way. If not, there's the old adage, you'll find an excuse. If you really want it, you'll find a way. If you really want. Okay? Because some people, they make the excuse for things, don't they? It's like, okay, the excuse, you say, let's go for a meet up for a coffee. I'm too busy. Do the exercise. I'm too busy. Start the business. I'm too busy. If you really want, you'll find a way. There's people out there that find a way. There's people out there that do amazing things. They find. I'm not sort of saying that people, the circumstance, it's not always easy. the circumstances are not easy. Sometimes we're in different circumstances, but equally there's people out there that they make the excuse, don't they? Oh, I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of that. Yeah, for sure, people, I'm not denying that, but plenty of people, if they really wanted it bad enough, they'd do it. And life is not complicated. You get up, you go to work, you eat meals, you go to the toilet. What's the mystery, So the comedian George Carlin says. And that's the reality, isn't it? We make life more complicated than it needs to be. We do make life a lot more complicated than it needs to be. And we let people push our buttons. We push other people's buttons as well, so to speak. And a lot of the time it's based on their values and beliefs. Who's right, who's wrong. So here in this context, we're going to look at ways to align your goal. And after the lunchtime, we're going to go into to utilise it to get some sort of alignment and go from there. And you can also use them to navigate yourself towards pain and pleasure. Understand what motivates you in the context of your situation. So why is that important to you? And you'll make a point of why it's important. Well, I want to train because I want to avoid the health consequences, whatever they are, of not training. Or I want to train to be in the wedding dress, or to do the suit, or to get the six-pack. And one is not right or wrong with the other, but equally you can then elicit the driver, the why. And we'll look at ways we can sort of begin with to get the contextual hierarchy of what we want. So you can choose. We'll do a basic elicitation before lunch because we're sort of pushing towards lunch. I don't want to eat into your lunch, so to speak. But at one time, to give you an example, like this woman came to me and she said to do some work with me, some coaching work. And she goes, I want to get back presenting. Now, you're a good presenter, so she said. I don't know where she got information from. She goes, you're a good presenter and I want to work with you. I said, okay, come down. And she come to me office at the time and she goes, oh, I want to get back to work. She's in her 60s. I want to start doing presentations again. And I said, before we do any work on presenting, because I sort of read her body language as you do, I said, let's sort of list your values. We'll list her values where career is concerned. And she had this big realization. She was very affluent. She said, I'll pay you whatever you want. I thought, wow, don't say that. Don't be saying that to me. But she goes, I'll give you what you want. Just, I know you can only get what you want to get to. I'll pay you whatever. And I said, okay, let me just do this first of all, before I take any money off you. I did the values elicitation, and at the end of it, we listed the values, and her life had changed. 10 years earlier, the husband she had at the time passed away. And she remarried a few years before, about 6-7 years afterwards, and she was with someone and they had this life, and her new things had come up in her values that were important now. She had the grandchildren, she had a new life. And we talked about, after doing the value elicitation, she goes, you know what, I've had a realization. The realization is that I just feel in the morning when my husband gets up to go to work, I've got nothing to talk about work-wise. And also I want to prove a point to the boss I was 5 years ago who undermined me presenting. It's like I want to go back and prove a point to him. I said, is that really a price to pay? Because part-time work, which she wanted to do again, ends up being full-time work, but you get paid part-time. So equally, she realised her key drivers were family. And she loved being with the grandchildren. And that's not to say she couldn't work as well as, but equally, she's going to start doing a number of sessions with me just to present, to go back into work to present, to prove a point to this guy, to have something to bounce off her husband in the morning. So she had this realisation. She emailed me saying, you know what, big realisation, I've decided to spend more time and spend the time baking cakes and the things I love doing, and in due course I may get into something again professionally, but I won't be presenting. I said, by the way, that money you said you could, yeah, old numpty head here, the open checkbook, old numpty head here, but that's fine. I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't, and that's the key, that's fine. I would never work with anybody who I didn't think that was getting value out of it. No point. Fine, no issue with that, no problem. I'm glad I could be of assistance, as you do. So we can do the exercise and you can choose a context, career, relationship, health, choose a context if you want to, and I want you to write down what's important to you. And I'll do a more formal elicitation after the lunch break. I'm mindful of time, but I want to sort of give you the information now. So choose a context and think, well, what's important to you? And you can write it 10 times. Ask yourself the question 10 times. So what's important to me? So let's say you're going to make a career decision. What job to go into? Work out what your drivers are. If you're going to go into the relationship, if you're going to do life in general, you can use it for. Really take the time to think what's important to me. Because the closer the job you go into is to your values, the more happy you'll be. The closer the relationship you go into is closer to your values, the happier you're going to be. And so on and so forth. Because the people, they like the idea of doing things. They like the idea of being a professional footballer. They think to be a professional footballer, you're going to swan around with the tracksuit. Hey, look at me, everybody, if the sports car. But they don't want to train. They don't realise that only 0.1% actually have that sort of affluent lifestyle. They like the idea of doing, but they don't know what to do. Someone said to me one time, I'd love to do what you do, but how do you know what I do? And one time I was talking to this woman, she was on maternity, she said, I want to get into coaching and therapy. I said, yeah, for sure, why not? And she goes, and what are the reasons for you to do? Because I've realised during maternity I want to spend more time with my children, the babies, a baby and another child too. And I said, well, what makes you think coaching you're going to spend therapy more time with children? Because I can do a few hours a week therapy and that's it. I said, wow, you've got a pretty big misconception of what it's like being a coach and therapist. I work about 70, 80 hours a week, and so do many others, doing many other things too. And also you take the work home. My work doesn't finish when I do the last therapy session. Doesn't matter how and who you are. I don't care who you are. There are times you go home and you bring it. So if you get into it, I think reassess your values. At least you know where you're working now. At 5 o'clock, you're off. You've got some time frame. Because you've got to book people in sometimes at 9 o'clock in night time. You've got to book them in the morning. You've got to sit in the weekend. You get the call when someone's in meltdown. So we've got this misconception of certain things and roles. And sometimes people, they leave one job. And they leave the job and they go from the fire to the frying pan. They don't think, get off the treadmill and think, what's important to me? What do I want in the business, in the career? It might be making a difference. For me, my values at that point was really making a difference to get this stuff out of there. I didn't have all the world's answers, don't still have now, but I felt I could make a difference to people. I could set my stall, and I won't be for everybody, and I won't lose sleep over it, but I know I can help many people. So knowing what you want from your career, okay, is it making a difference? Is it the finance the most important thing? Is it, and values can be abstract. When you do this exercise, have the realization that the value is abstract. For example, one time I was eliciting somebody the career. What's important to you about the career? And he goes, tidy desk. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, being organised. Okay. So what we must never do when we do the values elicitation is put the words in the mouth of the person. Okay. If the person can't think, just pause. Okay. If you say, what's important to you about the career? And what else? And what else? And they stop and they can't think. Well, they say, tidy desk. Oh, do you mean this? No, because that's your value. Words are meaning. Words are labels. Words are labels. Okay? And for me, we don't want to pass our labels on. So silence is golden as a coach. But what's important to you? The relationship. What's important to you? And the person, I think it might be this. I'm not sure. What do you think? What do I think? It's you. You know? And when we've done that, we've got 10. And we'll do a demo after the lunchtime, in more concrete demo. So you've got 10 of them there. It's not exhaustive, but 10 gets about to the point we aim for. Then you can start prioritising them. And the way you can make the priority would be what I would do. If you're going to start a new job tomorrow or today, which one would be number 1? Because then you've got a hierarchy. Number 2. And then you can shuffle it around until you feel you've got the right one. Okay? Or the relationship. You want to do the relationship, which one would be number 1? Number 2. So you list the 10, and then the next step is to put a hierarchy of priority. Okay? The hierarchy of priority, and say here,
You got like the information you can choose in a category, and you got the hierarchy of one, and you can rewrite them and play around with it, and then you define what the value means to you. Because let's say love is a value, love is only a word until you give it meaning. So what does loyalty mean to you? What does love mean to you? So one time I was doing a course in the Air Force, and they started doing the, you see the values everywhere now, on the websites everywhere, and they had the values there, and I said, okay, one of the values I think at the top of my head was integrity. I think it may have been. It's a long time ago now. But anyway, I'm sure it was integrity. But anyway, I said, okay, because you see these companies, they put these values on their website. We behave with integrity, with whatever. And I said to the guys, I go, how many of you guys behave with integrity? And they're like, we're all integrity. Yay, hey, we're all integrity. I go, now what I want you to do is write down what integrity means to you. Do you think one person in the 30 people I was teaching had the same definition? No. Because you've got your map, and I've got my map. So I think I'm being loyal based on my definition. You think you're being loyal. What happens to both of us? We're like two trains. Have you seen what he did? Have you seen what she said? And you can see how the definition is important. So if we're going to put values in the organisation, let's get a clear definition. Okay? But also what's really important, let's make sure we abide by it. Okay? Because you go into a shopping store and they're very clear on their values. I remember years ago when this shopping store was very big on recruiting on values. And they're very, very proud of marketing themselves on values. They have these sort of good values, don't get me wrong. And I go in there one day, and when I first announced, those self-checkouts, they never seem to work. They work a bit better now. And I'm like this, trying to check out this product, And I can see these damn values here, all about customer service, and I'm trying to get this product checked out. I'm like, oh, yeah, a bit of help here. And they're like over there talking about flipping Big Brother or the celebrity Bush Tucker trial. I'm like, can I have a bit of help to get this through? And they're waffling on. What is my perception of them?
Not good customer service.
You're saying that. So in a way, if you're going to put your mast out, then I think it's important. I'm not saying we all have a bad day. I'm not saying every day we can, but the definition, the behaviour that it brings, I think it's important for me to be very clear. So what I'm saying, for an organisation, you set values, be very clear what they mean. And I said one time to this company director, who was very, the values, I said, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever discussed what they mean to your staff? My staff, they never do nothing right. They never do. I said, have you ever talked to your staff what they mean? No, I haven't. How do you know that they know? They should know. Well, what do those values mean to you? I'm not sure. Well, how the hell should they know if you don't flip and know? And that's how people run the organisation. What about communication? This is what we stand for. We stand for making a difference, and that means to go out there and do talks. That means to go out there and hit the ground running. That means to go out there and build a presence. What does that mean? Loyalty. What does that mean? That means to offer our customers who've been there for us to be there for them. Because I'm walking in the gym one time, and they said to me, the gym, one time, I'm walking in the gym, not too far away from here, and it's fascinating how they're very big on these values, but they're not living them. And in the sense that they put the values out there, and this guy calls me up and says, Jim, is there anyone that can turn our gym around? It's Jim, metaphorically. I said, well, that's a big call. I'll do my best. But I walk in this gym. I'm doing this sort of training for them, to help them. They're a good gym, good staff. And here's me, giving it my all. Like I do, giving it my all. And lunchtime comes along. And he goes to me. He goes, oh, they like your work. It's disgusting. I said, your customer service, I walked in the gym, the front desk, and no one bothered to see if I was okay. I want to order some food, and it took about an hour to order it, and when I got it, I said, you slapped me a few lettuce leaves. I said, I'm in the gym looking to do the workout, and you've got these big bodybuilders just throwing their flipping equipment everywhere, and no one can pick it up, and you're worried about entertainment? I said, you know what? You put outside a massive banner saying free trainers and free heart rate monitor for anyone who signs up. What about your damn customers that are paying you good money now? Is them renewing their membership not equally as good, if not better, than trying to bring in you? It costs you 50 grand a month as a marketing campaign, roughly. What about getting on the phone and finding people who are paying good money and writing them a program? What about looking after the people that are looking after you? Is retention not as good as bringing people in? And they're like, you could hear a pin drop. And he goes, I knew I shouldn't have told you that, as you do. But they need to have the truth. Because in my life, as a coach, as a therapist, the way I've worked, and I can tell them what they want to hear. I can tell them what I think they need to hear. And I might not be your best friend if I tell you what I think you need to hear, but you'll thank me one day. I can tell you whatever BS you want. You can walk away, yeah, I feel great. You're the man, you're the woman, you can do anything you want. But the reality is, you know what, some people need to have truth. So I've had plenty of those in my life too. So for me, on a final night before we sort of break for lunch, is we do the elicitation, you get values out there, put them in a hierarchy, and use them as a roadmap. If you're applying for a job, if you're applying for a relationship, if you're applying for... Because what's really important in the hierarchy, and I'll let you to a secret, and I do a lot of study and research, as you all know. I'm one of them sort of people that seems to research all the time. And I research when I research, and when I research, I do more research. But what I've noticed for me, when you get the hierarchy of 1 to 5, the top two are the instrumental as being drivers. And I know in a lot of situations, if the top two are taken away, so you're going into a job and it's bliss in the beginning because they're meeting all your values, but then your values could change, or ultimately you've got to make a big decision, as you do. And the top two are key drivers. If you take one of the top two away, it has such a powerful effect on the human being. It can, if for example, one of your big values is to the career progression or making a difference, for example, and that's in your top 5 at 1, and all of a sudden you're in a new role that you're not making a difference no more, like you want to make a difference, you're not going to feel the same about that job anymore. But if one of the top 2 are being met, you might hang in there, even if everything else has been knocked out. So it might be finance, you need to support the family, because they have values clash too, you might hang in there. If you take the top 2 out, irrespective if you meet 3, 4, 5 and beyond, there's a very good chance the relationship's going to break down. Okay? If you violate. And that's why people who, in a relationship, if one of the top 2 values gets violated, and if the top 2 get out, the relationship will generally break down. And it will do. It will break down. And you see a lot of people, they try and get back together again in a relationship, and it very rarely works. Unless, I'm not saying it can't work, by the way, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it is tough. It requires a lot of work. Because generally speaking, when people break up, as a general rule, we have this drift. People change, they evolve, they grow. And if the top 2, let me give you an example, if loyalty is a big value for you and a person's not loyal, and they violate the value, it's going to be hard to look at that person the same way ever again. And if the other value goes, 2, and it breaks down, and you try and get together again, we're going to require a lot of work. And many times people try again, or they go back to the old job again, it's never the same. You go back to the old job again, not the same. They get back together again in a relationship, it's never the same. And the work they've got to put in to sustain it, you think, well, maybe it's time to move on. And forget the society pressures that people put on themselves. You must be together till death does you part, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not against that, it's fine if that's what you want. But I'm saying don't put yourself under any more pressure than you can tolerate. You're a human being. Talk about things, and all these things are important, to do and to get your head around. And today, certainly, we're going to look at ways that, okay, you can use them as a roadmap. Okay, and the basis is take the context, elicit what drives you, what's important to you, because in this context, the values is what's important to you. Get about 10 times ask the question, then put a hierarchy, and then define what the criteria of the value is. Then that's a little roadmap to go about your business in various contexts. And you'll know sometimes that you've been in a job and the job isn't the same it was when you first started, because maybe you're changed. And sometimes you make big decisions. You get a promotion at work, but you've got to move to another part of the country or another abroad, and you think, well, actually, family's really important. Big decision in how you prioritise the time. But equally, you might much more money with the new promotion, and you can put your kids through a better school, and maybe you can come back on the weekend. So there's decisions we've got to make, and we know how important it is to feel good and in the right place to do our best work and live the best life that we can. Because values, the emotion is a big link. If you're getting up every day, you're not true to yourself, you're not going to be very happy. Okay, in life. If you've got a strong sense of purpose, you're on the way. And the most balanced people I've had the experience of working with across a broad range of areas, in top flight sport, in business, in life in general, in therapy, are the ones who have got a good sense of purpose. Not to say they don't have challenges, they do, as much as anybody else, they do. We appreciate life is that way, but if you're getting up and you're sort of true to yourself, things are going to happen to you anyway. You could get fired, and the person you're with could leave you. Things happen beyond your control, and what then? So the more aware you are of yourself, the better chance you've got of bouncing back. Because life's not always smooth sailing. And some of these people in the seminars, and they say, okay, you can have everything that you want, and you can be this. Well, yeah, to a point, but the reality is there's something we can control, something we can't control. Okay, you can take your life to the next level. You can do this, you can have that, you can do whatever. And the reality is that we're all okay. You're okay, I'm okay. We're all doing the best we can. If we want to make improvements and change the direction of our life, like going to a roundabout and take a different road, we can do that too. And it's the journey of the destination that counts more than just the destination. And this is sort of the compass. And if it's not working for you, then change again. Because life is the way it happens. People have the baby, they have the bereavement, they have the medical issue. And this changes our values, significant emotional events as well. And we can reevaluate the course of one's life and prioritize things. And be more self-aware. And I think this is really important for me when we're setting goals. And I think it's really important to the goal, because you can jump from the fire to the frying pan. You see it all the time. People, they move country, they move town, they change job, they change partner. And once the gratification wears off, they're back to square one. It's the home truth of looking yourself in the mirror, the home truth of looking yourself in the mirror and being true to yourself. Because you've got two primary choices in life: accept conditions as they exist, or accept responsibility for changing them. It all comes down to that. Okay, so we shall break for lunch. I don't want to eat into the rest of your lunch, and then we'll come back after lunch and we'll rock and roll.